Hello, beautiful people out here in Feminine Spaces land. Every Friday I drive to my son's house. As many of you know, I have a son who's severely autistic and has neurological issues. And it's 20 minutes. And he lives in a beautiful place and has an incredible staff. And I see him every single Friday, sometimes Monday too, if he wants me to, but it's always on Friday. So it's my time of the week where I have 20 minutes that I can't do anything but drive. So I'm contemplating and reviewing my week and thinking about what I can do better, what I've experienced, what I can let go of, what I can ponder, what I can just sit on until, I come to an answer. And yesterday I was talking to one of my girlfriends and we were talking about relationships, our familiar relationships, and how important they are to us. And we were talking about what happens when we measure. Like, do we have the same measuring tape when our parents, our siblings, our cousins, or family members disrespect us or are not kind versus a friend or a colleague when they're disrespectful or not kind? Do you state that boundary and state your wants and needs and desires as clearly and concisely in both of those scenarios? Because I don't know about you, but in my family, we're always raised, because I think when you're brown and black families, there's this statement of, blood is thicker than water. And it doesn't matter if someone molests you, it's your uncle. You can, it's okay because he's family. Or if someone wants money from you and they're quite capable people, able-bodied people, but because you have more resources and because you're doing well and your family, like somehow you're supposed to give them something because they're family. So I'm always curious about the measurement of how we measure our family members versus how we measure our friends and colleagues. Because in my 50s, I've definitely come to cultivate and curate my life in such a painstaking way, that I'm no longer tolerating or allowing, just because you're a family member, that you can just treat me some kind of way and I'm supposed to take it and absolve it because you are a family member. And as hurtful and as lonely as that might be, my integrity and my sense of self and my awareness and that confidence in myself is so much more important than it is to carry the guilt and the shame that comes with allowing someone to treat you a certain kind of way just because they're family. And I was talking about this with my girlfriend yesterday. We had a really nice dinner. I love her. She's an orthopedic surgeon. She's such a baddie, super smart, beautiful, kind, young. And, we have the same kind of black and brown families that have these kind of expectations that somehow, because we're children of the family, that we're kind of indentured servants and we're supposed to do what they want versus more what we want, whatever brings us family. And as I've gotten older, and just from a psychological perspective, you come to understand that, your children come through you. They're not a property. Your children have their own wants and needs and desires and are capable of stating their own boundaries. And as parents and as family members, it's important to remember to respect that line, that just because someone is a family member doesn't mean that they have to do something just because they're a family member. And to be put in that position on a regular basis, it's exhausting and it makes you feel a certain kind of way about yourself. And as I've gotten older, I have definitely stopped being that person because it really is exhausting. And it's so interesting as I watch my beautiful young friends that are in their late 30s, watching them evolve as human beings. And I remember being in that space in that time when I was in my late 30s, and you start accruing resources, you start, being able to have more money, more, the ability to be able to travel more, the ability to be able to do things more easily. And somehow the more you have, the more assets and resources you have, the more you're expected to pay your family members or the more you're expected to host, or the more you're expected to do something because you got it. Because you got it, then we can all spend it. Or it could just be the lack of respect or the lack of emotional compassion and empathy towards a person just because a family member might be feeling envious or jealous or what you have. And it's such a tough spot to be in because do you cut out your family? I mean, part of life, part of legacy building is your family. And we were having this very interesting conversation because I've come to a place in my own life where, and I got to tell you, I learned this from my son. So every Friday when I come and I have this contemplative moment, I think about my son because unlike myself, my son adores me and worships me, and I adore him and love him because he came through me. I have also raised him to be his own independent person of society to the best of his ability. And there's one thing that I love about him and that I have learned and have adapted in myself. At this point, my son has neurological issues and he can't walk. He doesn't know that he can't walk, or he doesn't care that he can't walk. If he wants something, he will just throw himself on the floor and go get his toy and is so happy about it without thinking about, oh, I can't do it, or I don't know if I'm good enough, or he doesn't have like this narrative that's been put in by other people. He doesn't care about it. He just does what he wants. It makes him feel good. He's super happy. If he's not happy, he'll tell you about it. And he just moves on with his most fabulous life. And it's so enviable in such a way because he doesn't know that he can't, he just does. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to learn to do this more because this is exactly what I need to be doing in my life to be better. Now, I am super good at, obviously, when you're a therapist, retired now life coach, you're very good at looking at somebody else's life and looking constructively at what needs to be improved and teaching somebody how to do it. And I'm also very, very good about myself when it comes to colleagues or friends. When it comes to family, especially as I get older and so many of them are dying off, and then you have other ones that are still here, there's this element of not wanting to be alone. I'm just going to put it there. Not wanting to be alone, not wanting to be left behind, not wanting to be out of the cuff and being on your own. And the moment you make peace with that, the moment you recognize that, first of all, you're not alone because wherever you are, you are. The moment you recognize that most people, like capable people, they do things because they want to, or they're incapable of doing something else. That's it. You either want to do something. So if you want to be mean, or if you want to be successful in life, or you want to be a victim, you do it because you want to. Because the moment you learn something else and you recognize that there's another way and you still choose to stay where you are, that's on you. As hard as that is to hear, it's facts. So if you are evolving as a person, you're cultivating and curating the multiple parts of your life, your resources, your health, your wealth, your friendships, your personal development, the way of communicating effectively, your self-care, your femininity. If you're able to balance and cultivate all of that and curate your beautiful relationships, and your family members or friends or colleagues aren't, it's okay to move on. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't mean that you love them any less. It means that you love yourself more. And last time we were talking about this, that is the point we were talking about, is loving yourself more than the treatment that you receive from your family members. Standing up for her, you, she, because she is the most important person in your life. And it's something that I've definitely learned as I've gotten older, and I'm very confident and centered in myself. But part of being here in Feminine Spaces land is sharing the wisdom, and that self-mastery of recognizing, okay, I can allow someone to continue to treat me badly because it's better than being by myself, or to rise and say, I will not let anyone treat me differently than I treat myself. And if you're not going to treat me to the manner in which I treat myself, then regardless of whether I love you or not, or you're my family member, I'm going to let you go because I'm going to stay in my own authenticity and be in my own, it's to stay in my own integrity. And we were talking about that last night. So as I'm driving over here to my son's place and have those 20 minutes, and I was contemplating over how that has helped me in so many different facets of my life. Because the moment that I stood up for myself, the moment that I put myself under others, and not in a, conceited way, but in recognizing that somebody's saying something and you're like, did you mean to say that? Where is that coming from? Do you want to talk about that? Because you do know that it came out here and we all heard it. Like checking somebody and they're like, oh, wait, it's disrespectful. And the moment that you respect yourself and hold other people accountable, it's because you're holding yourself accountable. So if you tell yourself you're going to do something and you don't do it, that's on you. The better thing when you don't do it is to assess yourself and go, why didn't I keep that promise to myself? What is it that I'm going through? What narrative am I telling myself? What story am I telling myself that I'm not good enough? I'm not smart enough. I'm not capable of doing it. Because if you are, it's just a story. It's something that you learned. So then it's like, what is it that you have to do? So I myself have struggled with low self-worth and low self-esteem my whole life. I am extremely confident. And when I get in those moments where that low self-esteem comes in, which that's cultivated and curated in your childhood. And if you're not taught that, learn like the steps to build up your self-esteem and self-worth, you struggle with it until you recognize that's what it is. And then you go about building your self-worth and your self-esteem. So sometimes when I get in those moments where I let darkness take over, then I go, wait a minute, what am I doing here? This is not because of me. This is a projection that was on me and I'm taking it and processing something that's not mine. So let me toss that back over there and let me make sure to strengthen my self-esteem and self-worth by just telling her, I got you. We got this. We're here together. And you know what? Maybe I'm not very good at telling you my wants and my needs and my desires. So what do I do? What skill must I learn in order for me to do that for myself? And then I can state it out here. And that is something that we were talking about last night and sharing it with one another in our dinner. I love little dinner parties, don't you, with your girlfriends? And it was so deep because since I've already gone through it, so many things that we discussed last night, and to see, like for her to see me and go, oh my God, you've gone through that? I would never think that you have gone through that. And I have to tell you, like last night, I was even telling her that I do struggle with self-worth and self-esteem, and I was crying and she's giving me a hug and telling me, oh, Vanessa, I didn't even know this. That kind of vulnerability, that kind of transparency that you have with your friends is so beautiful because a lot of women don't show that side of themselves. And that side of themselves is what will help another woman to recognize that I look at you and I think you have it all together, girl. You are it. Oh my God. And you actually struggle with that too. And I still continue with my life. So when these moments happen, when it comes to your family treating you a certain kind of way and you choosing to allow it or to put a stern boundary down, if you are with a family member and they're disrespectful in some kind of way, or they think they can treat you a certain kind of way because you're blood, and then you start putting those boundaries and there's a pushback, it's okay. Because everybody loves you when you do everything that they want. The moment you start standing up for yourself, start holding yourself to the standard that you want from others, that's when their lip starts flapping. That's when they start saying, oh my God, you've changed. Oh my God, you think you're so much better than everybody. Nope, that's not what it is. I am holding myself accountable to my own behavior. And if you can't rise to do it, you can't be in my environment. Punt. It's difficult in the short run. In the long run, it gives you peace. And that's where you can stand in the peace. Because if people don't love you just for you, they're not your people. If people think they have to talk to you a certain kind of way or make you an ATM, they don't want you. They want what you have. They want access to all of your resources, which means they don't love you, which means they don't respect you. And if they're behaving like that, quite frankly, it's because you've allowed it. And the reason why I know is because I've gone through it. So this is why I'm sharing it with you. So you don't do it, because it's a long road back. Just because you want to be loved, just because you think that you're not good enough, just because somebody tells you something and you believe them. That's why you got to get centered. That's what self-mastery is all about. Getting connected with yourself and saying, is that true? Because if it's not true, why are you holding weight to what they have to say? Now, I'm at Zach's place. I know I've been rambling a little bit, but that's what I was talking about yesterday with my girlfriend. And it's something that is in my mind. It's something that I think about. It's something that I struggle with. It's something that I'm constantly curating, cultivating, and improving my behavior on to live my life the way I want to. And that's why I'm sharing it with you. I trust this makes sense, because sometimes when I go in these little ramble moments, I hope that it's clear in what I'm saying. But remember, you are the beginning and end of your world. You are the most important person in your life. Yes, we have our spouses. Yes, we have our children. Yes, we have our family members. But without you, so make sure that you treat yourself better than you treat everybody else. Pussy puss.